On August 26, 2006, Jonathan Hooker and Scarlett Parsley was united in marriage in Lexington, Kentucky. The couple from London had planned the honeymoon in California. They were to take a connecting flight just 12 hours after their wedding from Bluegrass Field in Lexington, Kentucky to Atlanta, Georgia, where they would then board their flight to California. Sadly, this couple never saw California as a married couple. Their flight was Comair 5191. That just a day after their wedding, a few hours after their wedding, crashed after attempting a takeoff from too short of a runway in Lexington, Kentucky. 49 of the 50 people on board, all 47 passengers and 2 crew members, perished in that fiery accident. Included was this couple who will forever be in love, forever be young, and forever be together. Jonathan, 27, at one point in time had been signed as a free agent with the Chicago White Sox baseball team. Now a counselor in London, Kentucky. Scarlett, 23, arrived at her wedding in a horse-drawn carriage in Lexington. Her friends and family said it was the happiest they ever saw her. We're in the cemetery in London, Kentucky, where their memorial is located.
It was a sequence of a lot of minor things that added up to this tragic situation.
Factoring into Flight 5191's tragic equation may have been a missing advisory, alerting the crew the normal taxiway to the main runway was closed.
The thought being that had the crew gotten that information, that they would have not turned down the taxiway that was closed. And because of that, they would not have been as confused as they were that morning.
Investigators say flight data recordings show the pilots thought they were on the right runway, but Flight 5191 ended up on a shorter runway. The plane crashed during takeoff, killing 49 people aboard. Only the pilot, James Polhinky, survived. Other factors probably played a part. Investigators say the crew started out by getting on the wrong jet that morning. Investigators also found only 1 air traffic controller was in the tower, instead of the 2 required.
In the early morning hours of August 27th, at Bluegrass Field in Lexington, Kentucky, Captain James Clay taxied Comair Flight 5191 to the wrong runway. An unlit runway too short for that particular plane to take off from. First Officer James Polhinky took over the controls and attempted to take off from the short runway. The plane clipped some trees at the end of that runway and ended up in a fiery crash in a field. 49 souls left Earth that day. The sole survivor was First Officer James Polhinky, who was piloting the plane at the time of the crash. The NTSB put the blame on pilot error and said the largest portion of the plane of the blame lay on Captain Jeffrey Clay. It blamed both pilots for making small talk in the cockpit and not paying attention to what they was doing before the crash. Jeffrey Clay's widow said on behalf of her husband she accepted that blame, but she also noted that the folks in the tower was looking at radar and not watching the plane take off as they should have been. She blamed that on the airport tower being understaffed. Jonathan Hooker and his bride, Scarlett, united on this earth only briefly in matrimony, but united forever in eternity in their love for each other. You know, I'm sure they left this world holding hands. This story is so sad, it's hard to tell it without getting emotional. Like we were saying, we do share the month and day of the anniversary, August 26th. And it is so sad. It was, you know, as weddings does, their wedding probably ran pretty late with reception and stuff. So, and the flight left at 6 a.m. that morning. They had just a few hours together as husband and wife, but now they have eternity. This is such a beautiful monument erected here in the cemetery in London, Kentucky. And the reason for the flowers is, as we're doing this, it's August 31st. So obviously their families remembered their anniversary and brought the flowers. Jonathan, Walton, Scarlett, Catherine, September 14th, 1982 for her, December 18th, 1978 for him. John and Scarlett were united in marriage on August 26, 2006. They perished on Flight 5191 on August 27th, 2006. Rest in God's peace. The sun is just now setting. We'll take a brief stroll. This cemetery, if you're the kind of person who visits cemeteries and reads headstones and wonders about the folks beneath them, this is a beautiful cemetery to walk in and do that. I never go to the cemetery when I don't look and read names and wonder. You know, there's a YouTube channel where a guy often, not all of his videos, it's a true crime channel, but often he'll do videos where he walks through the cemetery and he just reads the names, and through his research he'll give you a little bit of information on who the person was. The channel's called Lamont at Large. You know, he don't need a shout out from me. His channel's much bigger than mine, but it's one that I enjoy watching, especially those videos he does of walking through the cemeteries and remembering the forgotten. On Flight 5191, a local businessman, Mike Finley from this area. And folks, we mentioned that local businessman Mike Finley and his manager, I just found out, was on the plane and perished with the other 48 other people, counting him, 49, and the honeymoon couple we was talking about. Well, this is Finley's Fun Center, and there is a personal connection for us. This was our son's favorite place the 13 years we lived down here. He just loved coming to Finley's. But I just found out from Mr. Finley's son that this is the original one that his grandparents started in the 40s. In the 1940s, this, and it looks like a daycare now.
It is.
It's a daycare now, and then it's relocated here. And folks, this is still open. This is still open. My son loved it. It's a skating rink, of course, because he was going to like some kind of convention in Reno.
Skating convention, yes.
Yeah, he was going to a skating convention in Reno when he died with those other ones. And there's a beautiful memorial they done, folks. I'll have a picture of it in the video, so you don't have to look for it. You'll be probably looking at it right now. That they did up there. But this is the original one, and a local, certainly an important local businessman, Mike Finley, passed away with those folks. I want to thank his son for talking to me here and filling in some gaps for me. I always run into the right people at the right time. I'm the luckiest person on YouTube. On their monument, you'll find inscribed from 1 Corinthians 13, 7 through 8, this beautiful verse.
Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails.